Hey guys, it's Anthony. I'm here to talk about Project 9, Week 9, our third reading of EVA and FRANCO MATTES. Once again, like the last three readings, really interesting stuff. What I really like about this section, just like before I answer the questions, like how they were talking about Maver, sorry if I'm saying it wrong, and kind of like how they were starting by stealing the pieces, like little by little also, and and kind of like the one thing that mainly confused me in this part was like kind of like the plaque thing. So I'll go a little bit more into that when I'm answering that question. And also a little bit more confusing was the always 6 o'clock. Not sure, so I'll go into that. So let's start from the beginning, shall we? Alright, so question one: do I think that art increases its value as it shows its history, or do I think art is best appreciated when it's in its original condition? Well, I personally think it's increases value when it shows its history because it's kind of like tells more of a story because it's been through more. It's not like something preserved. Kind of like if you take like a tool from like 1900s with wear and tear, you could tell that it's been used and all that stuff. That's something that it went through. Kind of like with art too. Like in considering like the art ages that it went through, kind of like that in a sense. Whereas if you kept a piece kind of like new, it really has no background, like what exactly it's been through, like in terms of like historical events and stuff. Kind of like how it said in that section, the act of removing elements shows that they now exist outside the museum dimension. So that kind of shows like when it comes to like stealing part of like or losing a part of like a work of art, it just goes to show you it's out there. It's not just secluded in a museum, but it's actually out there in the public where people can talk about good, bad stuff. So yeah, so art really does increase value through history when it shows it. Question two: what do you and Franco think about the concept of the original? Well, directly from the book, they say that the concept of the original is overrated. What they see in museums is just one of the infinite aspects that a work has taken on. So basically, when it comes to work in museums, it's basically too much attention. It's really not worth it in terms of like displaying it. It's basically the entire original thing is blown out of proportion. So I guess in a sense, original doesn't really mean much to them because practically like when you're using sources like the web, when they could pretty much like display everything over through there. So originals isn't really something that would, I don't know how to say it, kind of like interest them. Like it doesn't really matter to them because because the web and everything, where you could get everything pretty much online. So question three: what was the dark twist behind Darko Maver's art? Well, what it did is that it exposed the brutality of war in the ravaged and plundered Balkans. Pretty much, that was its main, Darko's main purpose. Basically, bloodshed, violence, war in that area. It exposed the violence of both the battlefield and the art gallery. So by displaying it in art, it pretty much brought up the whole story of like death, war, violence, and like how the Matthes said, the core of his work is an examination of levels of violence. So that's pretty much what Darko's work was, because like how I said, showing the dead, the gruesome bodies, the torn hand, and all that stuff. His work being censored because people thought it was pretty like out of proportion, just so wild and crazy. Well, wild and crazy in terms of like, why would he be showing, like, why would he be displaying this as art? Why would he call it that? That kind of like wild and crazy. It's basically out of the ordinary and gruesome. So question four: what did the fake plaque that Ivan Franco put up in Viterbo, Italy, sorry if I said that wrong, criticize? And what are they saying about history? So basically, that fake plaque on that building that they put criticize how historic heritage and the power of the dead have over the living. Basically, what it does is like makes an icon out of those that are already dead. All those good figures, when in reality, kind of like it's like we who are living are really who's in power, because I guess in a sense we're living now and they're not. So basically, what their credit should be given is like live people now, because we're creating art these days, whereas the people who already did, like people they're talking about the popes and stuff like that. Well, the connections to the architecture, the credibility in terms of like what it really stands for is on like what it's worth, and supposedly what it was people would have thought is like the plaque criticized the buildings, but even Franco really did not intend for that. And what this saying about history kind of like add on, like throughout history, the dead have been immortalized and respected more than what the living have done. Right as of now, I'm not. That's the only thing I could really come up with, because that's kind of what the sense that I got. I'm not really sure on this one, to be honest, but that's kind of like what my interpretation of it is. I'm just gonna have to go with that, because I couldn't, like, after looking back over and over again, I couldn't really understand it. Maybe I'll look into it later on my own, later next time, so I could maybe further grasp it. Alright, so question 5. What are the main themes of the MATTES exhibit? It's always 6 o'clock. Well, some of the themes that were listed in that section were like appropriation, plagiarism, remixing, culture jamming, and identity simulation. Basically, kind of like the ideas like that were popping in my head when I read this part was like is it like getting people out of like the fantasy world, for say, like it's waking people out of this world where good images, happy images are created, by taking those happy images and putting like a gruesome, twisted like aspect to it. So kind of like wake people out of their fantasy world in a sense. It's like the grim side, waking up people to reality. Not 100% sure like about the meaning of this one. Kind of like the plaque. That's kind of like the idea that I got. So yeah. So question 6, last question. What do the MATTES have to say about America and Hollywood in the production of their fake movie United We Stand? Well, kind of like the idea that I got from there was like Americans are always the heroes. Show that So Americans are always the heroes, and they show that other countries are merely weak, like they're not capable of having those heroic qualities in movies like the Americans have. So other countries kind of like that. And like it's said in the book, we Europeans can't have the bombastic attitude of the Americans and send off a handful of heroes to save the world. Basically, America's kind of like a strong power in movies, and a movie like this, like I said, would be like entertaining but true. It's gonna be freaking cool, as it said. So yeah, kind of like the sense I got from that. Like those last 3 questions I couldn't really comprehend, but that's pretty much how I was thinking, and I thought I might as well go with it, or else I'd probably like get confused or something. Well, yeah, that's basically what I thought about this reading this week. Really interesting, like I said. Really like the Dark Omega and the always 6 o'clock, even though it confused me a little bit. It was a little interesting. So yeah, it's pretty much week 9 sums it up. So I'm out of here. Later.